Mr. Kelley?
Hi, I'm Robert Kelley. I'm one of the owners of the Atlanta Eagle. I also reside here inside the city limits of Atlanta. First of all, I would thank Mr. Bonds for presenting this, not to mention his wonderful rendition of Love Boat at karaoke. On September the 10th at approximately 11 p.m., Red Dog Unit entered the Atlanta Eagle. They never announced who they were, but proceeded to scream at the customers to lay face down on the floor. Not to get on your knees, not to stand there and be still, but to lay face down in broken glass and spilt drinks. As they proceeded to go around, the people who did not listen, such as a deaf customer by the pool table who had his back to them, and if you know deaf people, they can't read lips from back here. They picked him up and threw him on top of the pool table. Instead of taking into consideration that he couldn't hear, they handled him like he was running from a federal offense. Another customer refused to lay down on the floor of the Atlanta Eagle, and personally, I've cleaned it. It's generally clean, but at 11 o'clock at night, no bar in Atlanta is clean on the floor. I would not want to lay down on it. He got on his knees. The Red Dog officer came up behind him, took his foot, put it in the small of his back, right above his neck, and stepped on him this way, pushing him face down into broken glass and spilled beer. These are the things that you're being sued for. What you're not being sued for are the 8 employees that were arrested. The 8 employees that were arrested on a violation that nobody is clear on. We should have, as far as we understand it, been written a citation and left alone. There is no definition to anybody's knowledge of what a go-go dancer is in the city limits of Atlanta. Strippers need a permit. There is no statement anywhere in the city ordinance to anybody's knowledge that a go-go dancer who is not stripping but just dancing has to have a permit in order to dance. The employees working the door, the employee behind my bar, did not need a license to be there doing what they were doing and did not deserve the ticket they got. My manager was off duty and in his apartment upstairs eating Chinese with his shirt off like he would normally do watching a football game when APD knocked on the door, threatened to kick it in, and dragged him downstairs through broken glass and over customers without allowing him to even put on his shoes to go downstairs. Then one of the Red Dog officers was nice enough to ask him how many times a week he had sex upstairs in his office, in his own apartment. I don't recall any of us being asked that when we're at home and they come knocking on our door to see how many times we have sex at our home. It's a bit ridiculous. Warrants were never issued. Warrants were never presented. We were never told why they were there. When we asked why we were there, we were simply told, and excuse my language, to sit there and shut the fuck up. That is not how you talk to human beings. When you are done with your situation and you have arrested everybody, appropriate things would be to close up the bar and go home. Instead, we had Red Dog units standing in the middle of the bar, high-fiving each other in front of what was left of our customers that have not left yet, and the 8 employees handcuffed on the dance floor, screaming, "It was so much fun, we should do this to a faggot bar every week." On the way leaving the building, you heard a comment from a police officer going, "This was much more fun than busting a nigger on crack." None of what APD did from the second they stepped onto the Atlanta Eagle property was legal. None of what has been done since has been appropriate. There was a bar in Houston, Texas on Gay Pride weekend in July that was raided by Atlanta police officers. I'm so used to it now. By Houston police officers. The city was so quick to accept the fact that it never should have been entered in the direction that it was entered into. They apologized for the situation right off the bat. There occurred no lawsuits from this. One guy was put in the hospital and has a metal plate in the back of his head where he was beaten to death almost by a police officer. Was fine with them paying for his hospital bills and the apology. we would not be into this situation if Chief Pennington or Shirley Franklin had enough sense to go, we messed up, we're sorry. You would not have any lawsuits. You would not have any complaints. Everybody would be going on about their lives. Everything would be grand and wonderful. It's a little bit too late for y'all to be able to apologize. I understand with the lawsuits pending. That would be something that Dan Grossman would have to take up with his 20-plus people that are suing the city of Atlanta, if they were willing to accept that now and drop the lawsuit. I do know that myself and several other employees of the Atlanta Eagle, if the case is thrown out of court, are more than happy to sign something saying, fine and dandy, everybody makes a mistake, life goes on, nobody needs to sue anybody, who cares? I'm in a no-win situation. I've already paid way more than anybody should in lawyer fees to keep my bar open. If I sue the city of Atlanta, y'all going to raise my taxes, so I get it on that end too. The maximum that you can get from me and these 8 employees, if you do this, is $1,000 apiece. And I can pretty much guarantee you that if we go to court and I have to turn around and sue the city of Atlanta, you're going to get sued for more than that $1,000. The only thing I'm asking you to do, don't admit that it was a mistake. Don't apologize to me. Just drop the charges and let us move on with our lives. Again, it is up to Dan Grossman to handle the situation with the 20 other customers. That is a civil suit by the customers of the Atlanta Eagle. That is not a civil suit by the employees of the Atlanta Eagle, with the exception of one, and that is David, who was drugged out of his apartment when he wasn't working through minimal bar and embarrassed and harassed. They not only drug him out of his apartment, but they also walked through his apartment looking into rooms and everything, again, without a search warrant. Imagine what that would happen at your house tomorrow, how you would feel, what your life would be like at that point. It's a no-win situation for anybody. If we can just take the time and dismiss these charges, it will stop the interviews that my business partner has done with gay magazines all the way in Sydney, Australia, not to mention reporters and such, not here, and the one that I just did with Mirrorball, which is a gay magazine in London that I flew over for. That the only thing right now the city of Atlanta is getting is a bad reputation on its inability to handle its civil rights, which is really a big, pitiful thing considering that right down the street is where civil rights started. And to this date, I'm 46, so yeah, about 46 years later, because I was born about the time the man started marching, we switched from one group of people to another group of people. We didn't do away with it. We just sidestepped the situation and attacked somebody else. If we want it to be corrected, we have to start here and now and start with the Eagle 8. Like I said, have your city attorney draw it up right now, and I'll sign a piece of paper saying I won't sue, because it doesn't matter to me. I just want this to go away. Thank you very much for your time.